Hello students and welcome back to the lecture video of English language. So today students I have come up with a new chapter by the name adverbs. So here in this chapter I will be teaching you all about adverbs. So now let us start. You already know that adverbs add something to the meaning of a verb, an adjective or another adverb. Okay, so we have already learned in the previous class, in the last classes, about adverbs. So what is an adverb? An adverb is a word which adds something to the meaning of a verb, an adjective or another adverb. Now example. Number 1, he can run fast. Here, fast. Okay, fast is adverb because it adds something to the meaning of the verb run. So here in this sentence, run is verb, yes or no? So he can run fast. He can run. How? What is the mode? Means manner? Fast. So fast adds something to the meaning of the verb run. Got it? Number 2. He is a very fast runner. So here it adds something to the meaning of an adjective. So here if you say he is a very fast runner. How he is running means very fast. So here it adds something to the meaning of an adjective. Similarly in number 3, he can run quite fast. Here it adds something to the meaning of an adverb quite. Fine? So this is an adverb, or we can say the words which add something to the meaning of verb, adjective and adverb. Got it? So now, next is kinds of adverbs. How many kinds of adverbs are there? Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here they have given 5 kinds of adverbs. Okay, so let us read the 5 kinds of adverbs here. Adverbs of manner. It answers the question how. Okay. Example, carefully, gladly, merrily. Like suppose if I say he drove the car carefully. So how did he drive the car? He drove the car carefully. Gladly. The children gladly accepted their gifts. How did the children accept their gift? Gladly. Merrily. The children are playing merrily. How are the children playing? The answer is merrily. So, adverb of manner answers the question how. Number 2, adverbs of place. So, adverb of place answers the question where. Example, here, there, yonder, etc. Come here. Where? Here. The boy has gone there. Where? There. So, adverb of place answers the question where. Next, number 3. Adverb of time. So, time answers the question when. Example, today. It is fine today. When is it fine? Today. Yesterday was raining, or it was raining yesterday. When was it raining? Yesterday. Done? So, adverb of time answers the question when. Next, adverbs of degree. Adverbs of degree shows the amount or up to which extent. Okay, it shows up to which extent. That means sorry. That means which extent means कितने हद तक. Example, only, extremely, very. Example, like suppose if I tell you it is extremely hot today. So till which extent is it hot? Extremely, very. the child is very beautiful or the child is very careless. Okay, so it shows the degree. How much? Very. So adverb of degree answers the question how much, means up to which extent. Next, it is adverbs of frequency. So adverbs of frequency means it answers the question how often. Suki. Fine. How often? Seldom, rarely, frequently, etc. So it answers the question how often. How often means कितने बार लगातार. Like if I say I seldom make mistake. So how often do I make mistake? Seldom. Seldom means never. Rarely. I rarely watch movie. How often? Rarely. Frequently. The boy comes to visit me frequently. How often? Frequently. So all these kinds of adverbs we have already learned in the previous class also. Okay. So next. Okay. Now let us see how to use certain adverbs. So and such. Now let us start with an example. The book was so amusing. Number 2, it is such an amusing book. Number 3, her talk was so interesting. And number 4, it is such, she is such an interesting talker. Okay. So now, here, remember, okay, we use so with adjectives. Okay, wait. Yes, we use so with adjective. Now see here. Example number 1. The book was so amusing. Now amusing is adjective. Fine. So what will we use? We will use so. Similarly, in number 2, this is such an amusing book. So now in number 2, we are not talking about adjective amusing. Here we are talking about book. Okay. So with book we are using such because book is a noun. So with noun we use such. Got it? Okay. In the same way, number 3, her talk was so interesting. Now we are talking about interesting. How is her talk? Interesting. Interesting is an adjective. So we are using so. Whereas in number 4, she is such an interesting talker. Fine. So we are talking about her, about she. Okay, she is such an interesting talker. So she is noun, so we are using such. Got it? Okay. Now see. Again. With so, we use an adjective. So amusing, so interesting, so gladly, so loudly, and so politely. Number 2. With such, we use a noun. Such an interesting book. Such an interesting talker. Then, number 3. We can also use so that and such that. If we find an adjective, we will use so that. If we find a noun, we will use such that. Example. Number 1. She was so angry that she hit him hard. Now here angry is adjective, so we are using here so and then that. She was so angry that she hit him hard. Whereas in number 2, it was such an interesting book that I couldn't put it down. So now we are talking here, we are focusing on book. So it becomes such. It was such an interesting book that I couldn't put it down. Got it, students? Next. Okay. Now, another word, quite and rather. Now see. Example. This shop is quite crowded today. Number 2. This shop is very crowded today. Okay. Now let's see the definition. Very means there are more people than quite, which has less. Quite also means complete. Quite means pura. Okay, complete. So here very means that there are more people than quite. ठीक है, quite से ज़्यादा हो तो हम क्या बोलेंगे, very, which is less, जो कि कम है. Quite also means complete, and sometimes quite is used as a complete sense. Example, this rumor is quite true. That means ये rumor सच है. Okay. Now remember, quite is used as a favorable comment. That means you can say in a positive way. Example, he is rather silly. Sorry. 1 minute. After that, okay, quite again. Quite is used for a favorable comment. That means we can say it is used as a positive statement. Okay. Next, rather is used when you want to make an unfavorable comment. That means rather is used for negative statement. Example, he is rather silly in his behavior. Now, if we talk about silly, the word silly is used in positive terms or in negative terms. It is used in a negative terms. So, we will use here rather and not quite. We will not say he is quite silly. We will say he is rather silly, because silly doesn't come under positive statement. Silly comes under negative statement. Then next, rather is also used with the comparative degree. Example, it is rather cold today than yesterday. So when we have to talk about comparative, then we can use rather. It is rather colder today than yesterday. Next, quite is used before a or and. An. Quite is used before a or an, whereas rather is used after a or an. Are you getting me? Okay, let me show you once again. Now see, quite. Quite is used before. Before a or an. Okay, and rather is used after a or an. Remember, before, after. Okay, this is quite and this is rather. Okay, so rather is used after a or an, and quite is used before a or an. Examples, it was quite a dull book. Okay, it was quite a dull book. Example number 2, it was a rather cold day. Got it? Okay, next. Now see here. Let us use the word fairly and to. Fairly is another adverb used like quite to express a favorable comment. That means positive. Fairly is used like another adverb quite to express favorable comment. Example, she is fairly good at singing. So here we have used the word good. Good is positive word. So we can use fairly. Next, number 2, she is a fairly good swimmer. Same. Again, we are talking something good about somebody. So here we are using fairly. Got it? Now, you have already learned in previous class how to use to and enough. So in the previous class, you have already learned how to use to and enough. You have learned it in the previous class, right from class 4th. You must have been learning all this. Okay, let me explain you once again. To means excess of some kind, more than what is proper. Okay, that means excess. Suppose if I say the normal height of a person must be this much. This should be the normal height of a person. But if I say there is a boy who is of this size, okay, that means he is beyond normal. Normal से ज़्यादा है. Then what will we use? We will use to. Example, the boy is too tall. For this we will say the boy is tall. And for this we will say the boy is too tall. Then next. Yes, the boy is too tall. Now see. Examples. It is too good to be true. Okay. He is too proud to be liked by his peers. Now, next word. Enough. Enough is used in the positive sense and means sufficient. Sufficient means bathera. That means in good amount. Examples. He is strong enough to deal with any problem. That means he is enough strong. मतलब बथेरा है, काफ़ी strong है. She is strong enough to deal with any problem. Number 2, he has enough money to cope with any situation. That means no matter however the situations comes to the world in his life, he is enough rich. That means he has enough money to cope. Cope means to cooperate with any situation. So I hope fairly and to is also clear to you. Okay, next. Now, comparison of adverbs. So, what will we learn here now? We will learn how to compare an adverb. Now see. You have learnt already that adverbs have also 3 degrees of comparison. So, even in adverb we get 3 degrees of comparison just like adjectives. Just like adjectives. Okay? Now see examples. Soon, sooner, soonest. Carefully, more carefully, most carefully. Far, farther, farthest, or further, furthest. Little, less, least. Badly, worse, worst, much, more, most. So these are the comparisons of adverbs, just like comparisons of adjective, just like how adjectives are compared. So how are adjectives compared? Adjectives are compared by putting er and est to the positive. Like suppose if I say poor, so it will become poorer and poorest. Okay, or we can say tall, it will become taller or tallest. Fine, by using er and est. And sometimes it is used by adding more. It's not beautiful, let me write again. More and most. Like suppose if we have to talk about carefully or careful, we will use more careful and most careful. Fine. So here we add more and most. Then okay. The next are irregular words. Irregular words means they are not having any specific or particular rules for changing. Example, little, less, least, badly, worse, worst, much, more, most. Right? So I hope it is clear to you all. I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, thank you for watching.